Hello and welcome to yet another episode of Toastmasters Bay to Bay, where we feature clubs in District 4 from San Francisco to Monterey. My name is Candadai and I'll be your host today. First, a quick introduction if you're not familiar with Toastmasters. Toastmasters is a nonprofit organization that has grown to become a world leader in helping people hone and practice their communication as well as their leadership skills. It now has nearly 250,000 members in over 12,500 clubs worldwide that provides you with a terrific opportunity to practice and hone your leadership as well as your communication skills. Today, you will see a portion, a sample of a typical Toastmasters meeting where we'll hear from two speakers who will be presenting speeches from prepared manuals, prepared Toastmasters manuals. We'll also hear from two evaluators who will be providing feedback to those speakers. They'll tell them what they did really well, and they'll also give them some suggestions to help improve their speech for the next time. And that is one of the most important benefits of being a Toastmaster, so you can get to the next level. Our first speaker is Scott Moffatt. Scott's project is from the Competent Communicator Manual, project number 9. And his main objective is to persuade his listeners to adopt to his viewpoint or ideas and to take some action. Please help me welcome Scott Moffatt. The title of his speech, Integrity. Integrity, Scott Moffatt.
Thank you, Hari, Mr. Toastmaster. Fellow Toastmasters and obviously honored guests. As Hari mentioned, my name is Scott Moffatt. And what I'd like to talk to you about tonight is a little bit about integrity. Now, if you look in the dictionary, integrity has various definitions, but most of them revolve around the concept that it is the ability to adhere to a set of guiding principles or a framework that guides and sometimes even controls our behavior. Now, you might be thinking, Scott, that's great, but what's that got to do with me? Well, it's really simple. If integrity guides your life and adherence to principles are important to you, then the way you're going to behave in certain situations might differ if you depart from those principles versus adhere to them. Perfect case in point would be the current economic situation. A lot of people are faced with a very difficult situation in that companies, despite what politicians want to tell you, are still closing their doors. People are still being laid off. People are being asked to take pay cuts, if not furloughs, none of which are within their control, but all of which are forcing them to ask the questions of whether or not they want to reset their expectations, whether or not they want to continue to adhere to the principles that have guided them to this point, or whether they'll throw those principles out and sort of adjust to the situation. Now, the problem with that, really simply, is that difficult times can force us to sacrifice some of our principles in favor of achieving a short-term goal. And what I'd like to do tonight is I'd like to convince you that maintaining your integrity, keeping to those principles, is more valuable to you over the long term, especially when you're facing difficult circumstances. Perfect case in point. I'm sure you're all familiar with the Donner Party. This is a group of individuals that set out from the Midwest in America in 1840s. And upon reaching the foothills of the Sierra Nevada mountains right around September, they decided to try a new route. They had planned out their route very carefully in advance before they even left Ohio, which is, I believe, where they came from. You'll have to check me on that. But when they got to the foot of the mountain, someone told them there was a new route, and it was better, and it was shorter, and it was going to get them to California faster because their goal was to get to San Francisco where they could earn their fortunes. Well, long story short is, in September of 1846, they set out over the mountains on this shortcut that was supposed to save them time. What they found out is it did not save them time. In fact, it was the trip to get them to the summit was actually 3 weeks longer than the trail that they had planned out originally. They didn't make it to the summit. They were trapped by the snows, having a shortage of food, shortage of water. They were forced to eat first their pack animals, then they were forced to eat pets, and then some of them actually resorted to cannibalism. All because they threw their principles away, they threw their guiding plans away, and decided to try something new that seemed to be a good idea at the time. In the spring of 1847, 87 of them had gone into the mountains in the fall of 1846. 48 of them came out alive in the spring of 1847. Now, Einstein, one of my heroes, and one of the people I like to quote on a regular basis, once famously said that an empty stomach is a poor economic advisor. And what I would like to submit to you is that when you're making decisions based on short-term objectives and sacrificing your long-term goals and the principles that you hold very dearly, whatever those principles are founded upon, be it religion, be it morals, be it a philosophical viewpoint that you've held since you were a child, to sacrifice the long-term for the short-term is a very bad idea. And integrity is all about maintaining consistent, deliverable, measurable, and comfortable ideals that you can repeat. The benefit to you and me is really simple. In an era of economic uncertainty, in an era of, shall we say, employment challenges, what employers are going to look for is consistency. What employers are going to look for is predictability. They're going to look to see that you set goals, you achieve those goals, you keep moving forward in the same direction in a manner that they can rely upon you. And integrity is about sticking to your goals. So if you've ever found yourself in a position where you're going to question your goals, where you're going to throw away what you've held long and dear for so long in favor of something that's going to get you a short-term goal, then I'll grant you that keeping a roof over your head and keeping food on your table is important. But when you sacrifice those things that are at the core of your belief system, the things that really guide you, the things that really motivate you, the things that control what you do on a daily basis, you will be sacrificing a lot more in the long term in order to achieve a short-term goal. And so integrity is important to me. I make it part of my personal brand. My background is in sales and marketing. And what I'd like to share with you is that sales and marketing teaches you about personal branding is not only about who you think you are, it's about who other people think you are, which is the second reason that integrity is important. Because if you keep changing midstream, what you're going to find is people will not find you predictable. They'll find you erratic. They'll find you unpredictable. They won't know what to expect from you. And so when you want to leave your impression on someone, what you do is you make sure that you are not going to take the advice of the moment. You are not going to find yourself in a situation where the political times or the economic times are going to sway you away from those real core beliefs that you know are going to sustain you over the long term. And that's what integrity is all about. It's all about that. And as I said, if you incorporate that into your personal brand, you're going to find that employers, friends, even people with whom you do business, people that you buy things from, people that you sell things to, are going to find you a little more reliable and a little bit more pleasurable to do business with. And so I'd like to leave you with one thought, and that is, again, as I said earlier, Albert Einstein had a very insightful moment when he said that an empty stomach is the worst political advisor, or worst economic advisor you can possibly have. And so with that being said, I'd like to finish my thought by saying that if you act rashly, if you act short-term, you will be sacrificing your long-term goals. I appreciate your time. I hope you consider that when you're deciding what your next actions are going to be, both this week, next month, and throughout the year. And I'd like to welcome back to the lectern, Hari, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Scott, for such a valuable and very insightful speech. How did you pick this topic, by the way?
Actually, as I said in the speech, integrity is part of my personal brand. And I would like to make sure that other people at least consider that when they're determining how they're going to behave and how they're going to present themselves to others.
Excellent. Thanks again for sharing that.
Thank you.
And to evaluate Scott's speech, we have Vincent Low. Vincent has been a Toastmaster for over 15 years now. He's a member of Sweet Talkers in Santa Clara. And Vincent's had 3 careers. 1 as an IT engineer, 2 as an educator, and 3 as a filmmaker. And today he's combining all those passions in whatever he does. Vincent Low.
And thank you, Scott. I have the honor and privilege of evaluating Scott's speech. And Scott, your job today was to convince us, to persuade with power. And you did a perfect job of that. In fact, what I loved about your manner and your delivery of the speech was that you were firm without being forceful, without using force. And that's really the key to persuasion, is to generate firmness, power, without using force. Now your opening, this is the part that you could improve in your next speech. I found that the point of your speech took about a minute to get to. So what I would recommend in your next speech is to really plan, really hone that opening so that you use powerful, punchy language, get your point to us quickly, and grab that audience so that we have nowhere to go except to be here to hear the rest of your speech. Now, your objectives were to use emotion to bring your point forward, and I think that you did this very well. It was clear that you absolutely believe what you were telling us, and that it was actually important for you to share that information with us. Your body language and your delivery was amazing. Your gestures were powerful, wonderful. This is a model that we could use for how to use gestures in our speech, the kinds of things that we saw Scott do. And in the end, what actually matters when your job is to persuade with power was I persuaded there in my chair? And I have to say, absolutely, that was successful. I was persuaded that your message was relevant to me and that I could find value in responding to your message with action. And I can't say for certain, but I believe that that probably happened in all these other chairs. So I'm looking forward to hearing your next speech. Please keep bringing us what you got. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Vincent, for that very insightful evaluation. Given Scott some very good points on how to improve for the next time. Thank you again.
All right.
So with that, we are now going to feature our club in our program today, and that is Vox Toastmasters at IBM in El Viso. They were having their humorous speech contest, so let's hear from some of the contestants, the contest chair, and some of the members of the club, and find out why they were inspired to become a contestant and what Toastmasters has done for them. We present to you Vox Toastmasters.
Who's going first? Pretty nice first. So nice to have you all here. Today is our Humorous Speech Contest. Contests. I think the element of competition, the element of bringing the best out of you comes from a contest. It builds up your confidence through that experience, and the more you can do that, the more successful you are.
Everybody likes to laugh, everybody likes to socialize, everybody likes to feel like they're part of some sort of little party going on.
If you've attached and connected to your audience, I think humor is one of the best ways of doing that.
You know, you're going to go to Louisiana in the 80s. They don't know the word vegetarianism there, so you need to be extremely careful. I'm tired, I'm scared, I'm nervous, and I'm going to see the immigration officer.
I've been trying to include humor in my speech because I feel when you're talking, you want to make people smile, you want them to relax and enjoy.
I was in the center seat in the middle section. I had two huge guys to my right and two huge guys to my left. And they were constantly smoking. Look up, another huge person. Everywhere I see, I felt like everybody is huge in this country.
When you're using humor, you get to loosen yourself a little bit, use a little bit more of body language, and just lighten up the environment. When you're competing, you know you've got to put the best out there.
Goes the baby boy. Goes the baby girl from one side to another. I looked at the evaluation, and then it clearly said it gave importance to a well-organized speech. So you cannot just have a bunch of jokes and make a humorous speech. So it has to be a well-organized speech. You have to convey a point. They'll have to have an open heart and a peaceful mind to communicate. People who are sitting in the audience are hoping to hear some value out of your speech. People may forget what you said, but they will always remember how you made them feel.
The winner of today's contest is Shashi.
Welcome back. And continuing with our program this evening, we now have our second prepared speech by Doug Miyaki. Doug's project is from the Competent Communicator Manual, project number 6. And the main objective of his speech is to demonstrate vocal variety, to use voice, volume, pitch, rate, and quality to reflect and add meaning and interest to his message. Please help me welcome Doug Miyaki. An interesting, entertaining, and a valuable weekend. An interesting, entertaining, and a valuable weekend, Doug Miyaki.
With a title like that, you have to be wondering what I did. Last summer, I attended a men's weekend with the Sterling Institute of Relationship. The primary focus of the Institute is relationships between men and women. The women's weekend is separate from the men's. In fact, it all started with the ladies 30 years ago. Men's and women's weekends have produced over 50,000 graduates. Locally, I attended an event honoring one graduate, and over 800 people were there. But before we go any further, I want to assure you, I don't want your money. I want your souls. One lesson taught at the weekend suggests men and women should not be on the same page. That should be easy, since the thoughts of men and women are often not even in the same book or the same library. The goal is to be on the right primordial page, masculine for the men, feminine for the women. Now, I'm not saying that women shouldn't work outside the home, and I'm not saying men shouldn't do housework, but guys, lose the frilly apron, please. Part of what I'm saying is in a close relationship, the masculine and feminine spirit get the party started. And when that spirit is lost, the party is over. And when the party is over, your mom starts giving away your phone number at Tupperware parties. Relationship is not the only focus. Becoming the man or woman you've always wanted to be is another theme. Some big household names have used the weekend to go from star to superstar. Since my weekend, I've seen men quit drinking, smoking, swearing, gambling, and using drugs. And I'm just talking about my own bad habits. At my weekend, I heard the most interesting theories regarding relationship. Even after hours, what should have been information overload, I was still at the edge of my seat because the content was so relevant to where I had been in the past, to where I was at that time, and to where I wanted to go. Men and women think differently by design. Those differences are complementary, so we need to embrace them. The weekend helps us understand those differences, resulting in more acceptance. Men don't get too excited, expecting the door wide open into a woman's mind. To view that domain, use the peephole, peek at the stuff you can handle, and get out. The weekend is most entertaining because of the unique activities and element of surprise. I laughed until my cheeks were sore. I celebrated as if I scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl. And I cringed from the frustration other men shared. Men trying to express their feelings eloquently. Now that's entertainment. During my weekend, I learned how to secure the most valuable passions in my life. One, to have the woman in my life help put the wind in my sails. Two, to be a father to my son in a fun and fulfilling way. And three, to keep alive the circles of men that have shaped my life. And shame on you if you're thinking all that wind in my sails is actually just a bunch of hot air. The weekend is so interesting, so entertaining, and so valuable that graduates vie for position to join the production team to help other men and women reach Monday morning graduation. At my graduation, I was euphoric. I felt like a king as I embraced loved ones and felt like King Kong on top of the Empire State Building, swatting away life's distractions like they were miniature airplanes. And women, if that mental image of King Kong does not appeal to you, then that proves it. There really is no pleasing you. The weekend is not religious and not irreligious and not just for couples. If I knew years ago what I know now, that website, senddougtohell.org, would be getting fewer hits today. From the 188 diverse men that attended my weekend, I heard stories not normally shared by men, but the microphone belonged to an intensely skilled orator that transforms lives by changing attitudes. After my weekend, one man I know said for the first time in his life, he felt like a man. Standing next to him, I can attest, he did smell like a man. Personally, I didn't do the weekend to fix problems. My woman did her weekend years before and praised it often. I did the weekend to make her happy. And now our relationship is at a level I've never experienced before with anybody because we're both on the right page. Regarding my always wanted to be, 2 days ago at the Malibu Triathlon of the Stars, I finished before my favorite triathletes, Tom and Roseanne Arnold. Do you want to win in your sales and your life's passions kept in gear? In a world where the competition is stiff, the stiff competition prevails. And in your lives, the game is on. Are you on your game? Mr. Toastmaster.
That was a very entertaining speech, Doug.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. What's the name of your club?
I'm with Toastmasters Insiders. That's a President's Distinguished Club at Intel.
And how long have you been a Toastmaster?
For 4 years.
4 years. What inspired you to become a Toastmaster in the first place?
Oh my. I was on a conference call presenting to many people across the U.S. and there were vice presidents, etc. And I was a little rough on some of the executives. And my boss was also on the call, and he suggested that I lighten up a little bit because I'm going to burn bridges for myself and for our group. So he suggested Toastmasters, and I joined.
Excellent, excellent. And what would you consider as your biggest benefit so far of having joined Toastmasters?
It's really about 50-50 with the speaking and the leadership. Right. I switched jobs from that job when I was in engineering. Now I'm in technical marketing.
Sure.
And with the leadership, I'm a leader within my group and also a leader with the Scouts in Los Altos.
Excellent. Well, congratulations and good luck as you continue your Toastmasters journey.
Thank you.
To evaluate Doug's speech, we have Lynn Bruno. Hello, Lynn.
Hi.
Lynn is from the San Mateo Toastmasters, and Lynn's been a Toastmaster for about 7 years now. Mm-hmm. And when Lynn is not being a Toastmaster, I understand you like reading.
Yes.
You play tennis.
Mm-hmm.
And you also like oil painting.
Yes.
Lynn Bruno.
Thank you. Fellow Toastmasters, guests, and Doug, thank you for that speech. That's a topic that is really interesting to me. I would love to go to a seminar like that. So you got my interest right away talking about what you did. You have a really nice presence, and I like the way you dressed for your speech. And it was about vocal variety. And I thought that you had a really nice cadence to your voice with highs and lows. I thought you could have punched it up even more in some places. I particularly like when you said star to superstar. I like the way you said that. I thought you could have put a little more drama in your voice, but you have a very pleasant voice, very easy to listen to. I kept craving in your speech. I liked what it was about, but since I love these kinds of events, I was craving more detail about what you learned. You told us it was entertaining, interesting, you laughed, you cried, you had group hugs, but what happened that made you do that? We didn't get any specifics about that. You said you heard men share stories like you've never heard before. I wanted to hear a story. But most of all, I wanted to hear your story. So when you introduced the speech, I wanted to see what was going to happen with you, some movement. This is how I was. This is a great speech format. This is how I was. This is what happened to me at this event. And this is how I am now. This is how this event changed my life. So instead of doing that, you kind of introduced what the Institute was, which I thought you could have woven into the speech while you talked about how it changed your life. And I really would have loved to hear examples. Before I went to this is what I would have said to my wife. Now that I've been there and had this seminar and this enlightenment, now this is what I do, and things are so much better. So I really would have enjoyed hearing all that personal detail. And I hope you said you've given this speech several times. So that I commend you on that. Great speeches are not written, they are rewritten. And I hope you'll rewrite this one and give it again. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Lynn, for that very insightful evaluation. That's a perfect example of what Toastmasters can do for you, how Toastmasters can help you become a better speaker with the help of such quality evaluations. So thank you to our evaluators today. So with that, let me very quickly share with you what Toastmasters has done for me. I've been a Toastmaster for about 7 years now. I was forced into Toastmasters kicking and screaming. My manager had to take me in, but I quickly realized how much it has helped me since then to become a much better speaker. As a result of being in Toastmasters for 7 years, I've seen promotions, raises, more opportunities, and I wish that you all share and experience the same thing. The final note about this evening, if you would like to know more about how Toastmasters can help you, please visit our District 4 website at www.d4tm.org, and you will get to see all the different benefits and different clubs around you. We look forward to welcoming you to a Toastmasters club near you, and we wish you the very best as you would like to continue, as you start and embark on your Toastmasters journey and begin enjoying that Toastmasters experience.